Good news, everyone! God of War Ragnarok is available on Steam now. But the bad news is you need to connect to SPN. I don't even remember my password. More bad news for Chinese players is that it's more expensive than in other countries and no Chinese dubbing. Despite I will use English dubbing anyway, but it doesn't look like a good bargain. God of War is a good game, but Sony is a bad company. Do they want us to pay for the failure of Concord or what? Then let's talk about Concord. I actually didn't plan to discuss Concord because too many people are talking about it already. And I don't have anything new to say. Stop it. But today while surfing the internet, stop it. Then you go there. Go. Woo. I saw a lot of people discussing it on Chinese internet, which I found very interesting. So I decided to translate it for entertainment and exchange ideas. Maybe. But before that, I need to clarify that I'm not a spy. I'm just promoting communication, okay? Just kidding. Let's get started. After Concord was taken down, it sparked significant discussion among the Chinese player community. If you search for Concord or 新名特工 on Bilibili, a Chinese video platform like YouTube, you will find numerous videos related to the topic. Overall, most of this discussion focused on entertainment surrounding the game's developmental process and analyzing the reasons for its failure. While some videos mentioned its PC elements, there was a consensus that these weren't the sole or main reasons for the game's downfall. Much like many YouTube videos, they analyzed the game from various angles, including that Concord was not a competitive product. The fundamental reason for this failure was its poor gameplay. There were barely any features or highlights that would make players want to stick around. Competing shooting games in same type, such as Overwatch, Apex, Valorant, I don't know how to pronounce it, are all free to play. And pricing Concord at $14 given its quality and the competitive environment was deemed irrational. Irrational. Yeah. I didn't get a chance to play it, but two friends of mine who participated in the test had extremely negative views. They mentioned poor gun mechanics and unreasonable in-game purchases. Character design wasn't the biggest issue. Anyway, let's take a look at what the comments are saying on Chinese social media. Let's take a look at this one. Look at this. This is why I hate English. So many words representing the same thing. Okay, let's see it. Thinking about it now, the character design in Overwatch was truly brilliant. The early character design were nearly perfect and really diverse. There were all shapes and sizes, tall, short, fat, thin, representing all genders and ages, from men and women to the elderly and kids. The characters were racially diverse too, black, white, Asian, brown, even blue. There were also orcs and four-armed animals. The key is that all these characters felt harmonious. I don't know how to read it. And not many people were turned off by the appearance of characters like Roadhog or Junkrat. Even though Lucio is black, he wasn't disliked. Doomfist is another discussion. Yeah. 80 years have passed, and after all this time, no game's characters' designs have been able to beat Overwatch in the 3D section of you know what he means. IGN might lie to me, but this literally means his little brother. What a pity. To Overwatch in 2016. Yes, this is so right. I was a big fan of Overwatch. I've played it over 3,000 hours. I've bought 3 accounts at all these games. And I literally fell in love with Lucio. I think he was just so cute and well designed. Not like things now. Let's see what's next. I once watched a video about the CEO of the company that developed Fruit Ninja. Later on, he set up a special market research department, and every idea had to go through them. If they didn't approve it, it couldn't be developed. They didn't care how innovative your idea was. They only wanted to know how much money it could make. This led to only ideas that aligned with games currently trending getting approved. The problem is those games are already established in the market. So how can you compete when your game comes out several years later? I think this is a common problem in every company, not only the gaming industry. Despite it's nothing wrong with learning from successful products, however, it is also very important to maintain one's own uniqueness, right? So sad, the number of online players might not even be higher than the likes on this comment. Yes, he got 20,000 likes. Yes. I think this is a deeply remarkable game, and I highly recommend all players to give it a try. But if you ask me, then why don't you play it yourself? All I can say is dog, dog, dog. What are you talking about? By the way, it suddenly occurred to me that 8 years of development means this game was a follow-up project after Overwatch became popular. But now that Overwatch 2 isn't even popular anymore, this game finally came out. Yeah, this is so hilarious. What else? What else? Let's see. This one.
This extreme political correctness, PC, is tied to the political influence of left-wing investors and censors. If a company isn't PC, it faces various pressures from public opinion, investors, and distribution hurdles. For a giant like Sony, which has extensive ties, it's difficult to escape these influences without a strong-willed leader at the helm. But what would happen if someone were willing to take responsibility and make a change? There's no evidence proving that PC leads to game failure. If a game doesn't become a phenomenal AAA success, any changes made will inevitably become the reason for criticism, and with the pressures mentioned above, a person's career could very likely be ruined. So, unless someone is extremely bold, no one would be willing to take that risk. This is similar to NetEase's 10-cent coffee machine incident. People will make decisions to minimize their personal losses, even though they know it will result in greater losses for the
company overall. Sorry, I used AI to read these contents. I should read it myself for practice, but I'm just too lazy, sorry. And I can understand that running a company or a project, especially a large one like this, is incredibly difficult. The intricate relationships and interests involved are things we outsiders can never fully grasp. But at the end of the day, as players and consumers, all we really want is a fun game, right? Why make it so complicated?
Concord has basically hit every possible unfavorable situation in the past few days. 1. It's priced at $40 and clearly states that there will be in-game purchases. Meanwhile, the market is flooded with better free-to-play games of the same title. So why would anyone choose to play this? 2. Global gamers have just reclaimed some ground from political correctness with games like Stellar Blade, and emotions are running high. Concord is essentially walking right into the fire. 3. The most ridiculous part is that after the backlash, the producer couldn't take the heat and wrote an article blaming the players. This drove away even more of the already dwindling player base, while also igniting public opinion. Neutral players who weren't initially involved started picking sides. 4. As players kept leaving, the remaining players and new ones now face 8 to 10 minute wait times for a match. Who has the patience for that? It only accelerates player attrition, creating a vicious cycle. 5. When it launched, Black Myth Wukong was still going strong. Valve announced their new game Deadlock, and even the politically correct genre had Star Wars Jedi Survivor debuting. Without this wave of negative reviews, Concord wouldn't have gotten any attention at all. Now Sony is still trying to save Concord, constantly reaching out to promote how great it is, playing the pity card with stories about how much effort they've put in, etc. But the players aren't buying it. Nearly all media outlets are saying it's beyond saving, just the result of pure arrogance and self-sabotage.
Yeah, this is really unfortunate. But I believe Sonia and its employees could have handled the situation with much better attitude to turn things around. Instead, they choose to stand on the opposite side of the players, which is something I find hard to understand. 0.5% of people hold only 0.05% of the purchase power, yet they make 15% of the noise. A game made to cater to this 0.5% is destined to fail by 500%. Yeah.
If someone's friend feels insecure because they are overweight and unattractive, the right approach should be to help that friend build confidence. Encourage them to pursue self-improvement through things like weight loss or cosmetic changes if they choose. Help them step out of the shadows and stand up to those who mock them. They should be shown that true love and kindness still exist in the world. The solution is not to take their photo, spread it around telling everyone how unattractive they are. Force others to compliment them, then turn their image into postcards for sale, only to brag to them that this is helping them. That's clearly exploiting their friend's pain for personal gain, like profiting from their suffering. Based on what I've heard from LGBT around me, they also really dislike those extreme LGBT organizations. In the past, before political correctness became such a big deal, when others found out about their different sexual preferences, the reaction was usually one of gossip or curiosity. While it wasn't always comfortable, it felt less hostile. But now, with political correctness in full swing, even though people don't say anything outright, there's a noticeable sense of hostility that can be felt. There's no way around it, as this kind of thing fundamentally goes against mainstream values. But as long as it doesn't affect them personally, most people still hold a tolerant attitude. However, when you start forcing so-called respect and recognition, and even influencing children and teenagers who are not yet mentally mature,
can you imagine how their parents will react? In fact, I already talked about this in the previous video. Most Chinese people have this attitude. We believe that no matter what gender or sexual orientation you have, you must first be a person. We really resist labeling people and dividing them into different categories or ranks.
the failure was a perfect storm of bad timing and circumstances. Timing. When Concord was in development, they never anticipated that the trailer for Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed Shadow would be the straw that broke the camel's back, sparking the first anti-woke shot among Western players. Circumstances. It happened to launch right as Black Myth, Wukong, which had been praised by woke media, was taking all the spotlight in terms of both reviews and exposure. People, players and wokes were already at each other's throats over Black Myth, Wukong, and Concord chose this moment to step up and be the prime target. Add to that the fact that this month wasn't lacking in game releases, and Western players couldn't wait to tear it apart.
Due to time limit, we will stop here now. The Ubisoft new game Assassin's Creed The Shadow has the same problem and situation, but we're not gonna talk about it today. I grew up playing Ubisoft and Sony games, as well as watching Hollywood and Disney animations and movies. They had a huge influence on my life and hold a very important place in my heart. Back then, games are just the games, and movies are just the movies, telling exciting stories with well-crafted characters. Whether they were tall, short, fat, thin, black, white, male, or female, they all left a lasting impression. But now I can only say that maybe I'm just falling behind the times. In that case, I can only choose not to support it anymore. Maybe some of you will say that these games were never made for Chinese people or people like me in the first place. Alright, then forget I said anything. I just hope you don't make games that's about us in the future. We don't want to see a different Mulan, okay? You know what I mean? That's all for today's video. I'm Richly, a self-English learner and a game nerd from China. Until next time, stay safe, stay positive, and peace. Bye-bye.